I'm Alex Heath. I'm with Valore Metals. We trade on the TSX with the ticker VO. Before I get started, I just want to remind you that I'm going to be making forward-looking statements. Please note that actual events may differ materially from what's happening, and if last week was any sort of reminder of that, please make sure to read this. It's available on our website, and it's in our PowerPoint presentation, which you can pick up at our booth just around the corner. Today I'm going to kind of split it up into two sections. The first part, I'm going to take a macroeconomic view. We're going to talk about palladium and platinum prices, what's happening in that sector, what's driving that, look at the supply side and demand. We're also going to look at what the implications are for exploration and development companies in that sector. I'm going to shift gears, going to look more closely on a micro level at Valore, look at the 5 key highlights for our company, being the fact that we have a great team with high insider ownership, a track record of success. We've done it before. We have a substantial prior investment that's been put into place at Pedra-Branca. Over $35 million has been spent over the last 20 or 30 years. And we have the entire district, 38,000 hectares. We have over 1 million ounces, as Brian said, and we have high-grade, shallow deposits that are available on site. We're also applying new techniques and new technologies to this data set that we have, and we're using that. And what's one of our last slides here? I'll leave that to the end, showing that we are finding new ways to discover deposits. And lastly, most importantly, we have a discovery pipeline that's absolutely chock full and ready to go for this year. Starting first with the pricing, if you haven't paid attention, I'll just give you a quick overview. In the last 12 months, we've seen a 100% increase in the price of palladium to over $2,500. And since January 1st, 2018, it's up over 135%. The table there, the chart there on the right shows you the prices. It includes the changes that we had on Friday, big decrease across the board, but we're still up 86% in terms of the price of palladium. That's the gray bar there, since we acquired the project on May 28th, 2019. Gold is up 24%, as you can see that gold line there, and platinum is up 9%. And most interestingly, I think, the dotted blue line there, that's our share price. We're trading at the exact same level that we were when we first acquired this project last year, even though we have 86% increase in the price of palladium. As Brian mentioned, we're very conservative when we did our resource estimate last year. In the bottom left corner of that chart, you can see where it's a gray table, the prices that we used to estimate the resource using $1,000 palladium, $860 platinum, and $1,250 gold. Moving to the supply side, on the far left, you have the palladium market deficit. We've had 8 straight years. There's another year forecast. In the center there, it's a little more balanced when it comes to platinum, but still we believe that the excess supply will be soaked up by investment demand. And one of the reasons for this, in the far right, you have a pie chart. It shows you that where the world's production of platinum palladium comes from. South Africa, 39%, 40% from Russia, and 5% from Zimbabwe. I'd argue these are fairly risky jurisdictions. And when it comes to South Africa, corruption, lack of available electricity, and labor unrest are significant factors. And we're seeing that boil over into what's happening in terms of the larger producers of platinum palladium looking elsewhere in the world to acquire projects. On the demand side, the primary use for platinum is catalytic converters in automobiles. It's used to convert harmful pollutants to inert gases. And what we're seeing here is 2 steps. First, big demand coming out of China to acquire more vehicles. And on top of that, due to stringent environmental regulations, we're seeing a second-fold increase from factor loading, increasing from about 1.2 grams to about 2 grams of palladium for each catalytic converter. So it's a multiple effect, increased demand for cars and increased palladium within each one of those cars. If you look at the platinum palladium sector, it's very small. There's very few players. On the far left, you have the 5 largest producers, platinum palladium. They account for 85% of the world's production, with a collective market cap of about $100 billion. Each one of these companies is also very difficult to invest in if you're from North America. For example, Norilsk, which is the top one there, they're actually a nickel producer, and they trade on the Moscow Stock Exchange. Sibanye-Stillwater is the only one that's listed on the New York Stock Exchange. They were Johannesburg listed until they acquired Stillwater. Anglo Platinum trades in Johannesburg as well as Impala and Northam. If you look in the center there, this is just a smattering of developers and explorers in North America, Valore being one of them. Collective market cap is under $300 million. So these producers could easily buy us up with the cash that they have on hand right now. And they have been. If you take a look at the far right, recent transactions, like I said, Sibanye bought Stillwater a couple of years ago, paid over $2 billion for it. They then followed up and bought Lonmin in 2019 for $286 million. And Impala recently bought North American Palladium for over $750 million. So they're on the hunt. They're looking to get out of South Africa. They're looking to diversify. And there's really not a lot of quality names out there in the platinum palladium space, which bodes well for the explorers and developers, such as Valore. Looking at our capital structure, like I said, we trade on the TSX Venture with the ticker VO. Our latest price was 25 cents. We have a market cap of just over $20 million. What's most interesting on this slide is the high level of insider ownership. If you take a look at the insider trading that's been going on, you'll see that our CEO has been buying the stock at levels over 30 cents, up to 35 cents, and we have about 20% ownership from management. On top of that, we acquired the project from a company called Jangada. They own about 25% of the shares as well. So you can see about 2/3 of the shares are locked up between insiders and friendly hands. The goal for us with the Pedro Branca project is, like many other companies our size and our stage of development, is to expand the resource and get to either production or we sell the project, which is exactly what our management team has done. Between Jim Paterson and John Robbins, they're the founders of the Discovery Group. They've had numerous successes in the last number of years. Northern Empire was the most recent. They sold that for $117 million to Core Mining. Kaminak was sold to Gold Corp for $520 million. Two guys on our board, Dale Walster and Jim Malone, were behind Hathor Exploration, which sold for $650 million to Rio Tinto. And we also have very important director, Luis Azevedo, who's our insider here, who is from Brazil and works with the A&M, which I'll get to in a second. Discovery Group, just touching on that, it's an alliance of 8 publicly listed companies. We benefit from the fact that we can pool our resources together, which lowers our costs, which means that your dollars are spread over and we can get more exploration out of each dollar. On top of that, we have great access to capital because we've had such great successes with various previous companies. And what that allows us to do is not only raise more money, which allows us to make more discoveries, but it also attracts great people. And at the end of the day, it comes down to people. It's a virtuous cycle, kind of backs itself up. And this is exactly what we found on a recent trip down to Brazil. Like I said, Luis Azevedo is a new director of ours. In one day, he got us meetings at the federal, state, and local level. So we met with the A&M, which is the National Mineral Association of Brazil. We also met with the Port Authority and members of the state government, in addition to meeting with the local group in the Capital Mor, which is the town nearest to the project. The project has excellent infrastructure and access. The closest city is Fortaleza, which has a population of over 3 million people in northeastern Brazil. You can see in the top left corner, it's a very urban center, has an international airport and a deep sea port. There's also 2 interstate highways that go right through the property. You can see in the middle there, those 2 yellow lines are paved highways. We're about 250 kilometers from the city of Fortaleza, which is about a 3.5-hour drive. This just gives you a sense of what we're dealing with. The topography in Brazil is very flat-lying. We're not dealing with the Amazon. We have a 10-month dry season, so it allows us to work all year round. What really attracted us to the project was the fact that it had been operated by other companies since about the 1980s and 90s, and $35 million had been spent. Over 385 drill holes had been drilled, 30,000 meters, and we were really attracted to the fact that we could apply new techniques to this. And so one of the things we've done is applied a technology called Worldview, which is the highest resolution satellite photography that you can buy commercially. Anything higher and you're dealing with governments and spy technology. We say district scale. What does that actually mean? What we've been able to do is we've tied up all the land where there is potential for mineral discovery. And what this means for us in the future is if we find enough resources on the property that it's meaningful for a larger producer to come in and acquire us. It's not just a limited section. The most interesting part, and I'll just wrap up quickly here, 1 million ounce resource. What you'll see on the left side there is the fact that all our resources are discovered from surface down and very shallow to about 100 meters depth. What this allows us for is in the future, when we get to mining or someone else buys us and decides to mine the project, that they're dealing with low strip ratio. For us, we don't have to drill very deeply, so it's very cost effective. Again, this is just a cross-section showing you the grades and how shallow that is here. This is Esparo cross-section. It's only about 60 meters deep, and you're getting grades as high as 44 grams per ton. I won't have time to show you this video, but needless to say, the blue section is just an area where we have the existing resource, and we know that there's high potential for more resources outside or within existing areas, and also outside existing areas. This is our entire property. There's over 200 gram samples, over 5 grams per ton, and about 100 of those are over 10 grams per ton. Just quickly wrapping up, this is my last slide. What we did was we applied this worldview technology and looked at first, we had an existing deposit called Kuryu. We used that as a way to fingerprint what other areas might look like. So if we layer on the worldview technology, it also pinpoints this as a potential target. So we used that and we looked at other parts of the property, the C4 target, which looked a dead ringer for the Kuryu. We then followed up with worldview separately. They also confirmed that this was a target. We sent our guys there the next day, and they came back with grab samples of up to 8 grams per ton. So a discovery made through new technology. So we're going to do this. Like I said, we have a huge pipeline of discovery underway, and we'll be drilling this later this year. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.